must fight for joy, even though it is a free and spontaneous gift. That was clarification number 2. Now, clarification number 3 is, do not fight in order to be justified before God, but fight as a justified sinner. Or, as I like to say, learn the secret of gutsy guilt. I hope all of you know the secret of gutsy guilt. I suppose that in this crowd, I don't need to say too much about the doctrine of justification, but I want to anyway. I'll say something. The fight for joy is not the foundation of your acceptance with God. The foundation of your acceptance with God is Jesus Christ, His blood and righteousness, His living, His dying, His rising from the dead, did everything to make you wholly acceptable to God, and you have that purchase by faith alone, apart from works of the law and apart from a fight for joy. It is a falling on Jesus, not a fight. Galatians 3:13, Christ redeemed us from the curse of the law, having become a curse for us. So this we know, everything the law demanded of me, I have failed to perform as I should, and therefore I'm under the curse of the law, which is damnation. I am therefore lost. All the people in the world are in this condition apart from Christ. And Christ then, it says, became a curse for us. Romans 8:32, He who did not spare His own Son, but gave Him up for us all, will He not with Him freely give us all things? So you have not only the curse removed, you have a commitment, a covenant, blood-bought commitment that everything good for you for eternity has been bought for you and will be given to you. The curse is gone, the guilt is gone, the sin is gone, and every blessing in the heavenly places is purchased. It is finished. And to enjoy that position with God as totally acceptable, all of His anger removed, replaced with total mercy, blessing me forever with everything that will make me happy in eternity. The way you get in on that is faith alone. Galatians 3:28. We hold that a man is justified by faith apart from works of the law. Faith alone. Therefore, the sins that you fight in your fight for joy, the joylessness that you fight is a forgiven joylessness. The only sin that you can defeat is a defeated sin. The only sin which is prompted by finding your pleasure somewhere other than in God that you can defeat, the only way to defeat it is to see it as a punished sin, a covered sin. This is the mystery of the Christian life, fighting as a justified sinner. My sins, all of them that I hate, were covered by Jesus. Therefore, when I make war on them, I know they are already defeated, covered, punished. And those are the only ones I can get any victory over. If I turn this around and begin to think, now, there's some sins, and I'm going to attack them and defeat them so that God will accept me, you're dead. dead in the water. There's only hope if we get the order of justification and sanctification right, and do not mingle the two, which is the great Roman Catholic error. The mingling of sanctification and justification. Getting right with God on the basis of Christ alone, by grace alone, through faith alone, to the glory of God alone, learned about from the Bible alone, is biblical truth. And then, when you're standing right with God by faith alone, you make war on sin. That's the fruit and evidence that you are right with God. It's not the way you get right with God. It's the fruit and evidence. A person who is cavalier about their sin sees no problem with living in sin because they're saved by grace isn't. At least we have no biblical warrant for saying they are. There may be a season of backsliding, so we mustn't judge too quickly. But a person who goes on treating the sin in their own life in a cavalier, nonchalant way, using grace as license, has not understood what it is to be born from above, because a new person comes into being. I want to give you a text from Micah chapter 7. I would like you to go there if you have a Bible, because I want you to get gutsy guilt. Gutsy guilt. Oh, that all could learn gutsy guilt. I'm thinking of those of you who have fragile personalities, who are very sensitive to your own failures, who are always feeling defeated, who wonder if you're a Christian half the days of your life. I would just love to build into you some gutsy guilt. So let's go to Micah. Can you find that book? Look, use the index if you can't find it. A little prophecy in the Old Testament. Micah 7, and we'll read verses 7, 8, and 9 and make a few comments. Listen and see if you could identify what I mean by gutsy guilt as I read this amazing New Testament glimpse of justification by faith alone. But as for me, this is a prophet now. As for me, I will look to the Lord. I will wait for the God of my salvation. My God will hear me. Rejoice not over me, O my enemy. When I fall, he has fallen as he says this. You'll see that. When I fall, I shall rise. When I sit in darkness, the Lord will be a light to me. I will bear the indignation of the Lord because I have sinned against him, until he pleads my cause and executes judgment for me. He will bring me out to the light. I shall look upon his vindication, his righteousness. Let me just guide you through that in the order that makes the most sense to me. Step 1 in verse 8. When I fall, I shall rise. So he has fallen. Step 2, verse 9. Because I have sinned against him. So that's the nature of the fall. He sinned. The prophet sinned. I don't know what he did. I'm glad I don't know what he did, because I can fill in my own there. Step 3, up in verse 8 again. Rejoice not over me, O my enemy. You see what the enemy's doing? Ha ha ha. Christian, you sinned. Christian sinned. You're not what you say you are. Know how often the devil and others can come at us. Rejoice not over me, O my enemy. Step 4, down in verse 4. I will bear the indignation of the Lord. Meaning, okay, I've sinned. I'm sitting here in my dust and ashes. I feel terrible. I feel rotten. And I'm going to bear it. God's mad at me. Fathers get mad at sons. Did you know that? Fathers get mad at sons. This is not wrath. This is not punitive. This is not judgment of a final kind. This is a fatherly, I am mad at you. You sinned against me. You made my name look stupid, and I don't like it. That's step 4. Step 5, watch him now. He's got guilt, and he becomes really gutsy. Really gutsy. He's clearly guilty. He doesn't like the way he feels. He's bearing indignation. It's dark. And now, back up in verse 7, near the end, my God will hear me. The phrase just before that, therefore I will wait for the God of my salvation. The gutsiness of this guilt is starting to show here. Yes, he's mad at me. Yes, I'm sitting in the dark. Yes, I'm under his indignation. Yes, I feel guilty and rotten. And I'm going to wait here as long as it takes for my God to become the God of my salvation, to show him to be the God of my salvation. Now at the end of verse 8, when I sit in darkness, the Lord will be a light to me. Are you in darkness or are you in light? I'm in darkness. I feel awful. It's late at night. I just did a terrible thing this afternoon at work. I said something I shouldn't have said, or I did something, or I've been exposed for something that I've been doing for a long time on my taxes, or I would like to die. I would like to die. And in that guilt, he says, God will be a light to me. It's gutsy. This is what a justified sinner must learn to do. We must get gutsy with the devil and gutsy with our own condemning souls. And we must say, there's enough of a ray of light, just a little sliver of light shining in here to me. Now in the middle of verse 9, I'm going to wait here until he pleads my cause. I've got an advocate. Yes, he's frowning. Yes, he's indignant. And he's my advocate. Can you do that? Have you got the theological, spiritual framework in your brain to be feeling guilty and get gutsy to say that God is both angry with me and interceding for me? It's easier for us to do this on this side of the cross because we see who's the interceder, right? And then that amazing statement right after that in verse 9, until he pleads my cause and executes judgment. And you think he might say, against me. And he doesn't say against me. He says, for me.